Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. And after quite a while, he's back here with us. And I'm talking about the Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Commission, Mr. Martin Ayisi. You know, Thursdays are our time with the Minerals Commission, but well, he's been mining green minerals and chasing contracts and drafting contracts and trying to put in place some regulatory regimes and legal frameworks for green minerals and all that. And so he's been absent. And I'm sure that for many of you, you heard the Lands Minister, the Honorable Abujinapo, announce the granting of the first ever mineral lease for lithium in Ghana. And this has raised a lot of issues, both for and against it. I'm sure you saw the graphic front page story quoting the revered Dr. Sam Jonah about this lithium contract. He was applauding government. You've also seen many experts in the industry also raise red flags about this particular deal. And so we're going to look at this whole issue of lithium, green minerals, this particular lease agreement, and all the issues that have been raised about it. Are we being shortchanged? Are we being shortchanged? And you remember, for those of you who've been watching us, Mr. Ayisi kept speaking about, they want to put in place a framework, a new legal regime, a new framework for these green minerals and all that. It's not going to be business as usual. And then we heard that they've granted Ghana's first lease to Atlantic Lithium, I believe, is an Australian company. What really is this? What is in it for us? And have they done a great job for us, or have we been shortchanged once again? So he's here with me. Good morning, Martin.
Morning.
Okay.
I've been missing in action for 2 months.
Yes.
Yes.
You've gone green.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. So, Ewoya Lithium Project, what's that? Did I pronounce the name well? Ewoya?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because it's spelled E-W-O-Y-A-A.
Yeah, yeah. I think.
Which language is that?
Oh, I think that's the name of the town.
Town, okay.
There are about 8 communities that will be critically impacted.
Okay.
Core.
Where?
That area, about 8.
Where is that place?
That's Central Region in Cantonment Municipality.
Okay.
Capital Salt Pond.
Okay.
I stand to be corrected. Somebody was also telling me that the actual meaning is like what? Death is painful.
A war, yeah.
Or whatever.
Okay.
Or is it?
Or my mother, yeah.
Or is it birth is painful? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, but I'll check and let you know.
Yes.
You know, many of our names of towns and villages across Ghana, they have a lot of meaning. So I'll just check before they come at you and say, yeah, you are misleading the general public. But to be precise, that's in the Cantonment Municipality, Capital Salt Pond.
Okay. So lithium, we know gold, we know bauxite, we know a few others. Lithium. It sounds like I'm in a chemistry class. Lithium. What's lithium?
It's a mineral, as simple as that.
What kind of mineral?
It's a mineral that we have known that it has been existing all over. Randy, let me tell you something. 2004, while I was doing my master's in mining law in Dundee, there was a Chilean guy in my in my class. I know Chile is the biggest producer of copper in the world. Then he used to tell me they also have lithium. And I was asking myself, what is that? And I don't know what it is. I will tell you something, and then, Randy, we got to be serious as a nation. It just tells you that we will need to treat geological investigation like the way we have treated cocoa as a nation. Are you aware that this report has been in the geological survey records all these years? About this lithium thing? It's been there for ages. To the extent that as a young officer then, I think legal officer at Minerals Commission, there was one Mrs. Amuaku Mensah, I think the first female geologist in Ghana. The husband used to be Dr. Amuaku Mensah, House of Folk.
Right.
Even wrote her thesis on it using the report from Geological Survey. I'm talking about years back. Maybe that time we don't know what it is or the use for it. I mean, until the energy transition started, this issue of climate change, nobody cared about lithium and the other ones. And it turns out that all these things have been documented by Geological Survey. Maybe the time has come for us to go back, and that's what we're trying to do now. Look at all these reports that Geological Survey have over 50, 60, 70 years, because it was established by the British on practically every mineral, and see what we want to do with it. It's a shame that years on, somebody has to come from somewhere and come and spend 185 million.
Is this lithium?
I can't see properly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that it? It looks like coal.
Maybe next week, maybe next week what we'll do is that I'll come and, sometimes see, these pictures don't help like if you watch a documentary.
Okay.
So maybe 5-10 minutes.
Yes.
Next week, Wednesday, we'll discuss, we'll look at the processing and how it is done.
Right.
It essentially comes from two ways. Either these salt flats that are pumped to the surface, huge evaporation ponds, like that's typical of South America, where about 2/3 of the reserves are found, or hard rock, the one in Australia or this particular one. So that is it.
Okay.
It became an important mineral because of the energy transition. Other than that, it's nothing.
Okay.
Yes.
When you say energy transition, what do you mean?
I think I was in this studio and I told you some time ago that we've all come to accept the hard truth. Some people doubt it, that the earth is becoming warmer. And it all could be traced to the kind of energy we use. Essentially coal and the fossil fuels, you know, polluting, spewing, tons and tons of carbon dioxide into the skies, and then, you know, causing global sea levels to rise, ice melting, and then we are all in danger. You heard of that prime minister in one of the islands in the Pacific who was practically crying that his country is disappearing. So I think the world has taken this bold stand that, look, we got to do something. And one of the biggest things that, there's this climate change conference in Dubai, I'm sure by the end of the month. One of the things they are doing now is that, look, we got to move away from the current sources of fuel we use, energy, gas, petrol, coal, and move to cleaner ones. And the hard truth is that oil and gas will be around for years to come. It will still be there. It will not just fade out quickly. It will still be there. But then you can see serious steps being taken by almost practically every country. Maybe in one of our segments, I'll come and discuss the what we call Inflation Reduction Act. More or less a law put in place by US to see how they can do all those things. So let's see how we can move towards cleaner sources of energy. So solar, the use of electric vehicles all over the place. And then it turns out that these electric vehicles, the laptops, the phones, flat screens, and all these things require certain minerals to make them. That's why we call them green minerals or energy minerals. Several of them, including some rare earths. We are fortunate, we are blessed with a lot of them. Again, we have a lot of data on them over the years documented by Geological Survey. We just need to change our strategies, which we are working on. So that is it.
The last time we spoke about this green minerals and the issue of lithium came up, the issue of a regulatory framework. People were concerned that, look, we've not had the best from our gold and all those things. And that with this lithium, we ought to, the green minerals, for example, we needed to look at a proper framework in place so that we are not taking undue advantage of, and that we can take full advantage of this one. And you promised, and you actually told us that you were working on something. Government was working on something. Obviously, you are the regulator. You were working on something, and that you'll be able to put together a framework that will ensure that we get the best out of these green minerals, which appears to be the global focus, and of course, where Ghana also wants to go, so we are not left behind. Have you been able to do this?
Yeah, so Randy, before we discuss the project, let me step back and discuss the framework.
Right.
If you may recall, I don't know whether about 2-3 months ago, what you raised was not just a concern of everybody, but even the president himself. So the minister keep putting pressure and say, look, come out with something. So we prepared some briefs. He went to cabinet. We discussed it. And then cabinet gave him some policy directives and what do you call it, guidelines as to what must be done after some extensive discussion on that. So when he left cabinet, I think it became a front page story. He wrote to us that we should put in place all these strategies. So the first thing we have done is to amend our 2014 mineral policy. Currently, we have a 2014 mineral policy. Typically, policies are changed every 5 years. Unless something dramatic, doesn't occur, then you decide that, look, your policy is still good enough, then that is it. So the review of the existing policy has been done, taking into consideration these cabinet directives and policy matters.
So this is within the bosom of the commission. It's not something that goes to parliament.
No. Okay. From cabinet, policy matters normally government. The minister may make a statement in parliament about that. Yeah. But then from cabinet, then the minister was giving some approvals on some policy directives as to where we should go or how we should treat these green minerals, having taken into consideration what we have potentially and what is happening globally.
Right.
Okay, because the mining industry is global, so you cannot sit and behave like an island. So that has been done. Then the minister wrote to the Minerals Commission as the institution that is mandated by law to formulate and recommend policies to government through the minister. The first thing we did was to do a thorough review of our 2014 mining policy. That has been completed. We have written to the minister. The review took into consideration everything that cabinet decided on as far as these green minerals are concerned. We've taken him through it. He's given us a green light to now do a stakeholder consultation. So between now and December, we'll do a nationwide stakeholder consultation on some of these policy issues as to how to treat not just green minerals, but the entire policy framework for mining. So that is number one. So that is it. And then we are also supposed to develop a strategy. A lot of countries have developed strategies within the last year or two. For example, UK has a strategy, US, EU, Australia, and co. They all did that within the last 2 years. I've even chanced upon an African a green mineral strategy. I've seen a copy, which I'm sure Heads of State will develop. That is that. We have also done a review of the law, and we are also working on some legislation. So policy, we'll move to strategy, and then we'll take the law, etc. So the discussion of the OER, the negotiations of the OER lithium project, all happen within the context of all these cabinet directives. Okay, I'll touch on a few of them by and large before we get to the project proper. One, I think the fundamental thing is that we need to treat our green minerals separately or differently the way we treated the traditional minerals of gold, bauxite, and coal. But one, before I mention some of the cabinet directives or decisions that the government took, which the minister made public, it's public knowledge, there's one thing that is getting some of us alarmed. For instance, in this country, people don't read. It's a huge disappointment. People don't read. I'll tell you why. I have read the commentaries on ministers' public announcement following the signing of the OER lease. Even from people who have PhD, people who say they are experts, etc. I came to one conclusion only. That is not to say that we are the embodiment or repository of knowledge and that we are the only people who are right. No. But you see, Randy, even though you are doing this in public interest and people have the right to comment, the moment people start speaking, they realize that they don't have information. For example, practically almost every commentary, comment, criticism, even from think tanks, that I have read on, because I'm keeping track on them, that's how we can respond, on the lithium agreement or contract that the minister talked about. One, they have not read the agreement. All the analysis and commentaries were based on the summary the minister gave during his, what do you call it, if you like, the signing ceremony, the day he signed and then he went public. So that is one. Two, I'm also more than convinced that a lot of people or experts who are responding and commenting on this agreement have also not read even the geological information on the project itself. Then third, even some of them don't even are making references to we putting in place certain laws or policies which are already there. So I saw a think tank, for example, talking about we using competitive bidding. Why don't we use that rather than use first come first serve? And if you look at the things that they are talking about, clearly it means that they've not even read the Mining Act. But it is what it is. Let's step back a little bit. One, Randy, this is a project that started as far back as 2012. So if you like, roughly, at least over 10 years now. Originally a reconnaissance license. Then, yes, it was granted to a Ghanaian. Now the company that holds the
which was in which year?
2012.
2012.
Yes, reconnaissance license. It's a type of mineral right in the other law. It's for a year, maximum renewable 1 year. After that, you have to convert to prospecting. The difference between prospecting and reconnaissance is that in reconnaissance, you don't allow, it's not intrusive. We don't allow drilling, we don't allow excavations or anything like that. And it's practically for 2 years. After 2 years, you have to convert to prospecting. So it was picked by a Ghanaian, and the name of the company was Barari. Barari, that's the name, the entity that holds the exploration right. So it was converted into a prospecting license, and somewhere in 2018. Now, Randy, just understand this. All over the world, it's a common practice. When you are giving a mineral right, okay, there's something that comes with it. We call it a work program, especially if it's exploration. What are you supposed to do? You are supposed to spend money in carrying out the geological investigation in your approved work program. When anybody applies for a prospecting license, it comes with a work program. The work program essentially specifies two things. One, the kind of geological work you are going to carry out, and then how much it will cost. Then at the end of every quarter, not later than 2 weeks, you submit a report to the Minerals Commission. And these things are very, they cost a lot of money. That's how come that you see a lot of people taking it, coming from outside to come and do all these things. So the Ghanaian brought in foreign partners. So these Australians came in and they put in money. And there are two ways in which you can invest in an exploration project. You either give the person the money to do the work and then you earn in, or you do the work yourself and earn in. So over the years, at least within the last 5-6 years, the Australians have been spending money doing the geological investigation. And depending on how much they spend, they take a certain percentage and then the Ghanaian gets diluted. Until, I think about 2 or so years ago, they announced the discovery of lithium in commercial quantities. Now, the laws of Ghana, like many other countries, says that when you identify a mineral in commercial quantities, the next thing is that you have to apply for a mining lease. That is the right to extract that mineral. Randy, you don't just get up and apply for a mining lease. You need to submit what we call a feasibility study. So the feasibility study will tell us, for instance, what quantity of mineral you have identified, how many years you intend to mine, what is the grade, the kind of method you use, whether open pit or underground, and the environmental impact, etc. All these things are in the feasibility. We'll do the review, and when we approve it, we'll send a recommendation to the minister to give you a mining lease. Now, Randy, when the initial report came, we realized that no, we can no longer, what we are seeing, we can no longer treat this mineral like the way we treated gold and the other one. So the recommendation was that government should do some kind of negotiations on the project. But by and large, as far as the report is concerned, they've told us that they'll be mining for like 12 years, roughly around 360,000 tons of lithium a year. And typically, for a mining project, the person may even tell you, or the company may even tell you 10, 15 years, but before you realize 40, 50 years, they are still in there because they keep doing exploration. So that is it. It's going to cost about $185 million to mine. So in brief, that is about this lithium project. So that is that. There are a couple of other prospecting licenses around anyway, but these are first mining lease. And then I need to clarify a few things before we start talking about whether or not we got a good deal. Randy, there are certain approvals, authorizations, or permits. Howsoever described, that one requires before you can start mining. And I want to categorize them because I think, was it this Monday or so, my minister had to issue a statement clarifying a few things that came out from, what do you call it, some parliamentarians, particularly the minority. Randy, one, the Constitution of Ghana says that before anybody, when anybody, any person or entity is granted a right to extract a mineral, in fact, the word used there for the exploitation of a mineral, or any transaction, it says any transaction or any right that is granted for the extraction or exploitation of a mineral, it has to be ratified by Parliament. So the first step is that now that the lease has been signed by the minister will have to take it to Parliament for ratification. That will be done. So when news, social media, we heard that people were saying, they're going to start mining without parliamentary ratification. We were a bit surprised about that, but be that is made, the minister has corrected that. So very soon, Parliament just came from recess. The minister will take the lease to Parliament for ratification. So we need to clear that hurdle first. So the lease is number one. Number two, it has to go to Parliament for ratification. The third one is that the company will have to go to the environmental permitting process with EPA. So they have to do scoping study, do public hearing and discuss the impacts. It's open to everybody. The public, environmental experts can talk about that. So they will have to go through that first. So once the lease is ratified, once they go to the environmental permitting process and they are issuing for an environmental permit, they will have to come back to the Minerals Commission. Then the Chief Inspector of Mines will issue them an operating permit, and will even issue them a construction permit. So all these approvals, or authorizations, or permits need to be obtained first before construction and development can start. Timelines maybe between now and end of the year, or perhaps early next year. So we still have a lot of paperwork, documentations, and approval, to go through. So I needed to set the record straight on that. Fortunately, the minister corrected that with a press release, I think Monday. That's about 4 days ago. So, Randy, in brief, that is a Weah Lithium project. As again, let me repeat, is located in the Cantonment municipality in the central region of Ghana.
So I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
Now, one, in explaining what has happened in the area of the framework and the regulatory framework and the legal framework and all that, you explained the discussions at cabinet.
Yes.
The directives
from the minister to my good self.
The fact that you are reviewing the policy.
Yes.
You will have a stakeholder engagement towards the end of the year.
Yes.
And then obviously, if it requires some legal re-engineering or something, it will go to Parliament.
Yes.
Not so?
Yes.
Now, so my first question is, what is it about this particular project that could not wait for us to go through the entire process and have all our things done, our legal and regulatory framework done, the possible amendments to the law done before we would grant this lease?
Randy, that's a good question. But Randy, I'll answer it in this way. I think we know what we want. What we want as a nation, we want the best out of whatever we want to do. You want to see more Ghanaian and state participation. You want to see the situation where the product will not go out raw. Do you understand that? So, I came to this studio and told you that an area that we have not done very well as a nation, in fact, many African countries, is adding value to our mineral. That is why this 2 days ago, when there was this huge banner airline that manganese now will be processed locally, we should all be happy about that. That's going to be a game changer. So what is it that we want? At the end of the day, we have to add value to our minerals and get more money and then get more products out of it. You understand? Because it's only when you refine the product that you can get the carbonated or hydroxide, then you can make the battery cells and all those things. So we know that already. You have to look at the basic receipts, royalty, the tax. You understand that? All these basic things, we know them already. So following on from the directive from cabinet and then what the minister also, gave us, is good enough for us to move in a certain direction. We can't wait. And then number 2, Randy, the price of lithium is falling terribly. It's now barely over 2,000. When I came to this studio, it's over 6,000. Reason oversupply. Okay? Yes, things are moving very fast. And then remember, the minerals that are used for the battery, the energy storage devices, is not just lithium. Okay? If you take the anode, for example, they use graphite, overwhelmingly about 95%. Then if you take the cathode, they use manganese, they use nickel, they use cobalt, they use lithium. Now, many of these developed countries and co that rely on these things, and it's not just for battery, they also use them for defense purposes. Okay? They are worried about security of supply. If you take rare earths that are also used, over 80% of rare earths comes from China. Graphite like this, graphite, a key component of the battery, 60% is produced in China, 80% of the processing, China. So this is a mineral that is dominated by China. It gets the West worried. So quickly people are developing substitutes. Yes, people are developing substitutes. Okay, so you look at it. Do we increase nickel and manganese because that is easy to obtain and reduce that of lithium or cobalt? For example, cobalt, just one country, DRC, has about 60% of the world's reserve. The whole of eastern part of Congo is in turmoil. Security of supply is a problem. So can we find alternatives? And a lot of research is going on in Japan, in South Korea, in US, and many of these countries to see how we can change the chemistry. Okay, the ones that are widely available, let's increase that and then reduce these ones because they are coming from unfriendly countries or countries that are not safe. If you say DRC gets up and say, we're not going to export cobalt, or the cobalt mines are overrun by rebels, okay, what happens? Then the price will shoot up. Then to make the electric cars difficult to afford and all those. So these things are going on. At a point in time, some experts were saying that, let's leave the lithium down for generation. Give yourself 10, 15 years, you wake up and realize that your lithium has become useless because people have found other minerals or what we call substitutes. So having regard to what is happening globally, the way substitutes are developing very fast, and a lot of lithium products are coming on stream. Randy, as I speak, just 3 countries have close to about 70% of the world's reserves of lithium. Chile, that has about 40%. Argentina and Bolivia. Together, these 3 countries, where their borders meet, they call it a lithium triangle. And then, if you look at Zimbabwe, which has the largest reserves in Africa, number 6 in the world, and other countries, a lot of people are making discoveries. So, next year or so, people are even talking about oversupply. So, if you see that and say, I want to wait for my law, I want to wait for my regulations, etc., before you realize you're overtaken by events, you will lose out. So, my answer is that the basic things that we need to do, learning from the lessons of gold and other minerals, we have them. We know what we want. The mineral cannot go out raw. We're tired of manganese and bauxite going out. You export bauxite, then you bring in processed alumina, and then you take it to VACO. The accounts will say, Koya now buy it. That's how come we establish GIADEC and GIZEC and Co. So we know all this. You got to add value. It is basic. Do you need to wait for any law? No. So you design your contract, your framework to make sure that you capture that. How do you enhance the receipts when these minerals, they start mining them? How do you ensure that the 185 million that they're going to use to develop the mine, many of the contracts, okay? Because a lot will go into the mine, processing plant, contract mining, and all those things. How do you ensure that maybe 150 or 180 out of the 185 million for developing this mine, you capture them, that things don't come from outside? We know these things. So with this, we decided to act.
If I were a stakeholder,
yes,
and I was watching you or listening to you,
yes,
I would say that the stakeholder engagements are not important.
It is important.
You know what to do.
No.
You've decided to do it. It's pretty obvious that you don't need anybody's input.
It is important.
So go ahead.
No, it is important. Then we could as well stop everything. Randy, it is important because the review we are doing is not just lithium. We are reviewing the entire mining policy, which is almost 10 years now. A lot has happened. Emerging trends, technology, okay, a whole lot of minerals, and then how we should also treat certain things. That is it. And then Randy, as I said, there are certain things you don't have control over. Okay? So if you joke, it's not as if like you are Botswana, that is the biggest producer of diamond by value in the world. Or you are South Africa, that controls about 85% of PGM, that is platinum group of minerals. South Africa and Zimbabwe alone controls about 85% of the world's deposits of platinum. So they can decide to take certain drastic measures. Or if it is oil, Saudi Arabia, the only country with a spare capacity in the world. Saudi Arabia is the only country that within the next 2 minutes can change the price of oil. They can decide that, look, we are withdrawing 2 million barrels from the market, or we're going to pump more, and then price can collapse. So what Saudi Arabia can do, Nigeria cannot do it. You cannot compare your barely, is it 1-2 million barrels a day, to a country that is doing 10 million barrels a
Monkeys
day.
Play by size.
I saw 2-3 days ago, World Bank saying that if you're not careful and this Hamas-Israeli thing is not resolved, oil price could go to $150. Why are they saying that? Because most of the oil comes from the Gulf. Do you understand? And so South Africa can decide to tinker with issues concerning PGM or manganese or chrome because they have a lot. Okay, or Kazakhstan, which is the biggest producer of what you call it, uranium. So when you are making certain decisions, you also have to look at what you have. Again, we barely, I don't think we do even 200,000 barrels a day for oil. Okay, Nigeria does maybe 1 million or more. So certain things Nigeria can do, you cannot do it. Okay, my studies in petroleum law tells me that Nigeria has by far the toughest local content laws in oil and gas. They have over 50 plus history of mining. Of petroleum. So certain things they can do, having regard to their expertise, their reserves. Ghana cannot do it, but we're also producing oil. So if you look at the fact that just 3 countries control 70% of the world reserves of lithium, the way prices are moving, growth of subsidies and etc., you cannot sit here and say, let me finish my policy, let me finish my law, let me finish my regulations before you start mining. You wake up and realize that lithium is no longer being used because there are other substitutes that, they found. So that is it. But at least it is clear that what Ghanaians want is that we want to add value to our minerals. We want to make more money. We want Ghanaians to participate. People are saying that, oh, foreigners are dominating. But when you go out and tell people, come and put money in exploration, they tell you it's risky. Randy, if I go out right now and I said I want some of the rich people in this country, maybe they should raise $5-10 million so that we go and do exploration in some good projects in gold. They will tell you they will prefer real estate. They will rather go and spend $5-6 million in Cantonment or Laboni and all those areas, put up real estate, they will make more money from it. But I guess with this education, that is it. So if you say we should wait for the policy to be completed, wait for the laws to be done and all those things, you just wake up one day and realize that the whole thing has become a white elephant. So we got to move on.
Okay. So in reading, you spoke about the commentaries around this project and all that. One article that I found interesting was authored by a lawyer who was expertise in oil and gas.
Labi.
Yes, Isaac Minta Labi.
I read it and I realized that I want to be charitable and show respect as a colleague lawyer. I don't know him personally, but we connected on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Clearly, he's got his facts wrong. He talked about, Bolivia has decided to suspend everything and they can finish. They want to take their time and do it. Okay. So, but Randy, hang on for a second. I have just told you that just 3 countries.
Yes.
The so-called lithium triangle in Latin America, Bolivia, Argentina, and Chile, have decided that, they have the reserves. Okay? So certain countries can take certain measures because of the kind of reserves they have.
So for the benefit
what is the size of a whale?
Yeah, so for the benefit of our viewers, let me try and summarize the point he makes.
Okay.
Now, he bemoans how the country Ghana has not taken advantage of the mineral resources by the kind of agreements that we enter. And he makes the point that there's a royalty-based agreement and there's an industrialization-based agreement. And he believes that what we have done is that we have opted for a royalty-based agreement. And in his write-up, he speaks about us getting some 13%. And he speaks about the company investing about $185 million in this whole project. And we're getting 13% from royalty-based. Then that is where he brings the Bolivian example, where he says that as far as Bolivia is concerned, they've gone for the industrialized-based agreement, where they say that we will only sign the agreement if the factories will be set up here and the things in their country and the lithium will be processed into those batteries and everything before they are exported. They will not sign any contract that sends out the lithium as a mineral in a state outside their country. So he's asking, why would we go for a royalty-based agreement and just get 13%? In any case, the $185 million that they are going to sink in this economy or in the exploration and all those things, what is the big deal about it? And he thinks that we are making the same mistake that we've made with all our discoveries.
Randy,
I hope I've summarized this.
I got it right.
Yes.
And he's not alone. Okay. I also read something by ASEP and Institute of Economic Affairs on Ghana strategies. I'm preparing a response. Okay. Randy, you remember when I started?
Yes.
My initial summary was that people have not read. Clearly, I am more than convinced that Isaac Labi has not got a full grasp of what he's talking about. He got it totally wrong. He has not got the full facts. That's why we are here. In fact, we are here for the long haul. The whole of November, we are here.
Right.
Royalty-based agreement, he only picked one aspect of it because maybe we said royalty 10%, so perhaps it was happening on it. They have not read the agreement. I'll be very surprised if he has even seen the entire agreement, and I'll make it available. He has not even read the reports. And Randy, sometimes we should stop behaving like then we could just get up and say, oh, because we have found one crocodile in a pond, it's now a tourist attraction. My reaction, he has not read it. He has not got all the full facts. So as he listens to me today, next week, throughout November, he will understand the issues properly. Then we can have a debate. So what I'm going to do is that, as far as I'm concerned, we got some of the finest deals you can think of in the world. I'm going to break it down after the other. I'll look at the receipts, potential revenue that the state will get. And royalty is just one aspect. I'll discuss value addition. I'll discuss local content. I'll discuss state and Ghanaian participation.
Which are all in this agreement.
They are all in the agreement, which as far as I'm concerned, they've not read it. Many of them have not seen the agreement. We'll make it publicly available, even before Minister takes it to, Parliament. I'll put it on the website and I'll put in
Shouldn't you have highlighted these key things?
No. You know what happened?
Yes.
The day Minister signed the agreement, then he just gave a summary or some briefs of some of the things the state had negotiated. Yes. So that is what people are running with. So I'm going to put the agreement on the website of the commission and issue a public statement and then make it available so that people can take their time and read the full details. Every analysis, Randy, trust me, and I know what I'm talking about. That is not to say that we are shutting people down. We are saying people cannot criticize it and say maybe perhaps even your royalty should have been 20%. That's not what we are saying. But I'm saying that clearly from the lives of what Mr. Labi said, my colleague lawyer, when I also read Ghana Strategies, what was put out there by ASEP and Institute of Economic Affairs, and even what Dr. John Kwachi said, he even used the word, why do we keep signing colonial contracts? But if I call Dr. Kwachi now, whether he has read the agreement, he will tell you no. So I'm here to do that. Pour out the fine details. You can ask all the questions from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe or Aminatu to Zimbabwe. We'll explain it. And then we'll also make the contract available. Then people can critique it. It's all transparency when it goes to Parliament so that we can discuss it. Then people can make proper analysis. So he only picked out the royalty. why are we celebrating 10% royalty? So it says royalty base. But there's value addition in there. There's state participation. Okay? And then the other things there. So people don't have the facts. That's my simple reaction.
Okay.
He has not got all the facts. Okay. When I read it, I say, hey, this man, I need to provide the agreement or the contract, for them, so that they can read and we can have more debate.
So from next week, we'll start breaking down the contract.
We will start, but
yes.
we can mention a few.
Yes, go on.
So, Randy, I'm going to discuss 6 aspects of the whole. 6.
Okay.
6 of them.
Yes.
Maybe you can make some notes.
Yes.
The first one is to look at the financial part.
Okay.
It's all about money, some aspects. So when it comes to the receipts, what do we get? Potential, or what is it that we can get? The receipts, potentially. What is the need for us? I'm also going to discuss state participation. Okay, so Mr. Labi and Co. just picked these two, an aspect, and then they did that right up. I'm also going to discuss Ghanaian participation. I want to separate that. If you can box the two together, state and Ghanaian participation, they are not the same.
Will Ghanaian participation fall in the category of local content?
Yes.
Okay.
So even if I say local content, I can have so many items under it.
Okay.
Yes.
So local content.
Yes, then we also talk about listing on the stock exchange.
So GSE.
So that people can also buy.
GSE. Okay.
Then we'll discuss value addition.
Value addition. All right.
Are we going to add value? What has been put in place? So all these things are
so
set
this
out.
6, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I have 5 now.
You have. Let's go
Financial,
through
state
it.
participation, local content, stock exchange, value addition.
Yes.
If
you talk about the stock exchange, if you talk about the value the local content, I mean, we can. In fact, if you take Lease on the stock exchange, state participation, they are all even local content. So we'll go beyond that.
Right.
But we can start with some part of the financials.
Right.
Then we can move on.
Okay.
Randy, practically almost every country in the world where minerals are mined, you pay something to the state, which we call royalty. Royalty is paid to the owner of the mineral. So if you go to Australia, for example, royalty is paid to the various provinces or states that make up Australia. So every country collects royalty. Currently, the royalty rate in Ghana is 5%. Some other rates have been negotiated for certain types of agreements, especially those who have the development agreements. So we have decided, or the government negotiated for a royalty rate of 10%. Now let me give you a few statistics because you see, Randy, you need to compare. As far as I'm concerned, close to about 50% of current production of lithium comes from one country, which is Australia. Royalty rate in Australia is 5%. Mali is so endowed in lithium. In fact, they have one project called Gulamina. Gulamina is almost 3 times the size of a Woya. The royalty in Mali is 6%. Zimbabwe has the largest reserves of lithium in Africa and number 6 in the world after Australia. In terms of production, you have Australia, you have Chile, then you have China, then you have Argentina, you have Brazil, and then you have Zimbabwe. Royalty in Zimbabwe is 5%. The only country perhaps that has a higher royalty than Ghana is Chile. Now, Chile passed the law this year. The rate is between 8 to 26%. They use a certain margin. Okay? It's something they introduced this year. So, Randy, outside Chile, and I need to underscore this, they have close to 40% of the world's reserves. So, I repeat, they are the Saudi Arabia of lithium in the world and the number 2 producer currently. So number 2, but they have the biggest reserves. Outside Chile, where they have a rate between 8 to 26% based on margins, etc., Ghana has perhaps the highest royalty for lithium in the world. If this is not a good deal, what is it? And this is just one out of the several things that we shall be discussing throughout the period of November. So that's royalty. And that's a killer. We got it right on royalty, 10%. That is it. And you remember, royalty is not sensitive to profit. Whether you are making profit or not, they pay it. So if we compare ourselves to Mali, which has far bigger reserves than you, Australia, Western Australia is the biggest producer of lithium in the world, and in fact, the largest mining hub in the world. Zimbabwe and the other country. Save Chile, we have a very high royalty. I don't see how this could be a bad day, so we can take off on that. That's number one. Randy, 2, we also need to put community first. Look at our mining communities. If you like, you can say they are desolate. They don't look like Johannesburg, they don't look like Perth, they don't look like Toronto and Co. Randy, we also negotiated a community development fund for the community of 1%. 1%. Now, it is a shame that Ghana is the only country in Africa where, when it comes to corporate social responsibility, it is not legislated. So if you go to Pesos Mine, they have a Deacon Trust. You go to Newman, they have a Hafo Foundation, Obuasi, and all those people. They spend a lot of money. This one I heard you talked about this stadium they are building. They will deduct it. All these social things they do is tax deductible. Yet we don't have any legal framework governing it. All of them, all the countries in Africa that copy our law, they have it. Tanzania has 1% for what do you call the community development fund. So Angogo Ashani, that will pay the Gita mines. They pay. Sierra Leone, 1%. Kenya, 1%. All of them have 1%. So we have decided that the community should have 1% of revenue, not profit. As we speak, Newmont, they use 1% of their profit. And profit, that's when you make profit. 1% of profit and 1% of every ounce of gold they sell. That's what they use in setting up the Hafo Foundation. If you like, calculate 1% of revenue and compare it to 1% of profit plus $1 for every ounce you see, and you see the figures. So very soon we are changing the law. So we say 1% of the revenue of the sale should go to the community. They will set up a fund, we develop a framework of that. That is not the only thing. There is also the Growth and Stability Levy, which was passed this year by Parliament, just this April. We've also slotted that in. And that is on revenue, it's not even tax deductible. So if you add it, effectively royalty is 11%. Okay? And then they will pay the other things. Corporate tax is 35%. That of Mali is 30%. So Mali has 6% royalty, and they have a 30% corporate income tax. We have a 10% royalty. Now I'm saying it's 11%, and also a 35% corporate tax. If you look at the revised data they have, this is a project where the payback period is 1.5 years. It's not like this gold where they take 5 to 10 years. 1.5 years. Based on the feasibility we review. It could even be less than a year, even at current price. So that is just on royalty and then a corporate income tax. And then also the fact that 1% of revenue will be set up for the community. I engaged the Infantiman Municipal, what do you call it? The Assembly. Yeah, the DC. Okay. The MCE. Yes, the MCE. I asked him, what is your common fund? He said, about 1.2 million. And you know that? Yes.
Per annum.
Yes. That's a what? $100,000?
Yes.
If we use the 1% based on the current figures, you are talking about not less than $6 million to the community alone. Okay? At current price, it's even more than $6 million. And that's about 8 communities, perhaps more after they do the environmental permitting. That's a lot of money. That will go to the community. No community gets that.
What about the impact?
The impact is, we'll talk about that. Yeah, I want us to go to the terms first. Yeah. So, to summarize on the fiscal terms, we have 10% royalty. We have 1% for community development. We have 1% growth and stability levy. We also have shareholding of 13% now. The law says 10%. Mali is 10%.
What is the shareholding?
The government of Ghana is a 13% shareholder.
13.
Yes, 13%. From the initial 10% that we've used for the other minerals. Even some of them we even have 0. Okay? Then remember our Sovereign Wealth Fund. Mineral Incomes MIF, Mineral Incomes Investment Fund. That runs that, what do you call it, that fund. They've also taken a 9% stake. 6 locally, 3 internationally. So if you add the 6%, you add it to the 13. The state alone, the republic alone, owns about 19%. Remember, there's a Ghanaian also there. Okay? That is it. So that is in terms of the shareholding structure of the project. No project has that.
Okay.
I'm waiting for people to come and tell me that, oh, you should have gotten about 13 or you should have gotten about maybe 20 or 50 or whatever. And then I heard ASEP And instead of Economic Affairs saying that we should move away from this first come, first serve way of granting mineral rights. In fact, that's the first thing they raised in their summary or their commentary to competitive bidding. Randy, then I got convinced that they have not read our law or they don't know what they are talking about. Even in the petroleum law, they have competitive bidding. Randy, if you get up and say, this area, we're going to do competitive building, companies should put in bids. Randy, nobody will come and put in any bid if you don't have data on it. Okay? So why don't we get up and say, these are the blocks all over Ghana. We're going to do competitive building for lithium so companies can put in bids. Who is going to bid for it? Where is the geological data? There is no data. It is a company that came and spent $50 million to do the exploration over 4, 5, 6 years that they found this in commercial quantities. So as a nation, if we want to be serious, we should give more money to geological survey to do the exploration. Do you understand? To do exploration, and then these things will be discovered. Then as a state, we can get better deals. But you don't sit back, you don't have data. Somebody comes and takes the risk. In exploration, it is barely 5% success of what? Chance of success. They come and do it, then you get up and say, you should do competitive. Where's the data? Where is the data? Okay? You can only do competitive bidding if you have data on it. So we can only do that if we give a lot of funding to geological survey, they spend time and do a lot of work, then we can build some data or generate some data, then now we can do competitive building. Wow. So until we do that, we cannot do that. And that's why I keep talking about small scale. That in 1989, okay, we introduced small scale mining lawfully. It was being done in only 5 regions. Okay? Ashanti, Central, Eastern, Upper East. Then that's why we have an office in Bolga and Western region. You had barely 100,000 people in it. The chief executive at that time who were there, the chief executive at that time, and also Mr. who is now advisor to the minister. We keep telling governments after governments that every year put aside money and give it to geological survey to do geological investigation. 89 to 2003, 37 years now. We didn't do it. Then now, you've just woken up, you realize that small scale mining, which is being done lawfully in 5 regions, is now being done in 13 out of your 16 regions. From 100,000 people, 3 million people. And you think it's something you can just resolve overnight. That is how we've been treating ourselves as a nation. So if ASEP, instead of Economic Affairs, is saying that we should start using competitive bidding, hallelujah, that is good news. But you have to start first by giving money to geological survey every year in the budget. And I'm saying, I think government has started. If you look at the budget that is coming 2024, some big money is going to be given to geological survey. We should have done this thing for the past 30, 40 years. We didn't do it. It's not too late because there are other minerals or other areas in Ghana that look prospective. Then geological survey that has the knowledge, they have the drill rigs and all those things, can spend their time, do the geological investigation, map the whole country and say, we have these minerals in these regions in this quantity. You package them, then we can now do competitive building and get better deals.
All right.
So that can only work when you spend money on geological survey.
All right.
So it's a decision that as a state, we've not done for 37 years. And when people don't know this, they are at liberty to say whatever they like. So where were all these people when somebody came from Australia, took his $50 million, went there and took the risk? In fact, I remember when the man is dead, the Australian came and met me. I said, why are you into lithium? That's about 4 or 5 years ago. Why don't you go and do some good projects? So you wait, you see things. So he takes his money, comes to do the exploration. $50 million. Okay? 1990, 94, when we're talking about funding geological survey, do you know the responses we're getting from politicians? He says, how do I take $5-6 million and go and give it to geological survey to do exploration, something that has only barely 5% success chance of finding the mineral, when I have schools to build, when I have hospitals to build? So at that time, That's how they were looking at it. Until this galamsey thing, okay, we just realized that now we have mining taking place in 13 regions, supporting livelihoods of what? 3 million. Running, I look at the official receipts for small scale, August, $167 million. This official. I have every reason to believe that even 3-4 times left this country illegally. That is it. So some of the things that we are talking about, these are things that we need to sit down and strategize and take proper decisions and look at the medium to long term. We cannot resolve some of the things the lobbies and Institute of Economic Affairs are talking about. These are things that we will have to sit down, take hard decisions and say, look, every year, I'll take $2 million, $3 million. We don't need $100 million or $50 million every year, even just $1 million. Okay? We'll go to Parliament. And now I'm speaking as a professional. It's not about NDC, MPP. That every year we'll take maybe $2 million, go to Parliament, get it approved, then we'll give it to Ghana Geological Survey, an institution that has the expertise already, to go around. And you start small. Maybe you can take parts of OT, parts of water. You can select some key minerals, nickel, cobalt, limestone, phosphate, because they have the basic geology of Ghana. And say, we'll do maybe clay in Ashanti, we'll do gold here, we'll do this thing here. Give yourself 5-6 years. You have all the data, then you can do this competitive building that Institute of Economic Affairs are talking about. Okay. So until we do that, it will still remain first come, first serve. Okay, so we'll continue next week. Thanks for your time once again. But let me wish the General Manager of Peduasi Valley Resort, Mr. Kifa Lumasha, a happy birthday. Today is your birthday. GM Kifa Lumasha of Peduasi Valley Resort, happy birthday to you. So, Martin, so I'll see you next Thursday. All right. So we'll continue with Awoya and Lithium. Yes. All right. So next week I'll summarize the fiscal terms again. Right. And then we'll discuss the other terms. Right. By then, the agreement will be made publicly available. I'll also give you a copy. Right. Then you can also read and then ask me more real hard questions. We'll be here next week. Up next, Metro Sports.